Rise and shine, everyone. It's Sunday. We're um, going live today. Uh, I've noticed that even when I upload from recordings, that the quality isn't much to be desired. So I figured uh, if you all are up and about, we could talk a little bit. I think when when you go through a work week and you've been productive, it's more important to take one day, even if you don't have a church to go to or anything like that. Um, you need to let the work. Um, it's good to respect rest. When I Yesterday I went out to the track and did some work. Um, and just kind of seeing how my body has been managing the confinement. Uh, I've noticed that it's good to take time to do, kind of focused auxiliary work via calisthenics. Um, so I've got a little, pull-up setup here that I do for kind of low ab work, hip flexor stuff. Um, and then I have a hardwood floor, so when you put socks on, you can do a lot of frictionless things. Uh, I use the couch to do kind of plank work, push-up work, decline stuff. Uh, just kind of getting to know my body a little differently. Thankfully, that's an eternal journey. You can go on that journey your entire life and always learn something new. And so uh, the there I talk about a concept. I call it tensegrity, but it's just the body. See, we don't have to go into any technical information. And um, I'm speaking as though I'm in I'm kind of in the tanks with you. Uh, the reason they keep us separated is so that we kind of develop a feeling of encouraged hopelessness. And so I'm going live because I want to discourage that hopelessness in you this morning. They kind of they play with us by giving us these stories on the algorithm about how all of the wealthy politicians are basically weirdo ass pedophile homos, and everything negative can come out about them and they can have it all redacted. But the smallest thing we've ever done puts us in the cells that we're in, and they want us to turn into violent criminals that kill each other because of relative poverty. So they talk about places like the south and west side of Chicago, Memphis, Atlanta, Florida, uh, places in Houston, Oak Cliff, uh, Compton, all these places. They They're trying to gaslight you into becoming what they want you to become. It's not just about gentrification. It's not just about voting or gerrymandering. It is a deeper spiritual battle. And as much as we despise the lies of white Jesus in the Bible, the spiritual realities are there. And we must recognize them just as we recognize gravity or the concept of density in the air. Um, the prince of the air, the devil has been called the prince of the air. I don't know what parallels that has with Michael Jordan, and I'm not going to speculate on that. All I can do is take care of my ISO on that part, and I believe that with whatever gifts God's giving me, I'm doing the best I can with that. So I have no problem with confinement if I'm able to still accomplish my purpose. And I have more than enough to do that at the moment. But I want to make sure that you're doing all right as well. And so I'm daily, I think I've done enough marketing for the verticals of my own brand and business. I think you have a pretty good idea of what I'm about. But what's more important now, especially on Sunday, not because, the Seventh-day Adventists are right or wrong, or if resurrection really happened on a Sunday or anything like that. Those are irrelevant. Let's see past that, okay? I saw a video on Instagram of Alchemist, the producer, rapping when he was like 13 years old, little white kid. What he's trying to tell us is that, no, I've really been a part. DJ Vlad does the same thing. He's like, I've really been a part of this culture for like the last, however many years. I started way back when, in 2005, and I was a DJ and blah blah blah. Like they're trying to like hit you with facts. Like I'm these are stats. Look at my stats. You know what I mean? And so because of the length of time that I've done something and the proximity to something, this is how ingratiated I am with the culture. But that's exactly what Jesus was talking about when he said, many will come saying, Lord, Lord, did we not cast out demons in your name? And Jesus will say, I never knew you. Time is a dimension, and those of you in confinement in the penitentiary know this very well. We operate in the 3 dimensions of space, and then we move through time. We move backward through time through our reflections and our memories, but only forward through our actions. These are laws that we have to respect. And we should respect all of those who are bound by the same laws. I'm not saying you have to piece it up with all of your enemies. Your enemies are your enemies for a reason. If things must be settled with escalation, God has given you wisdom, and God has given you years on this earth to know when and where that is necessary. And no matter what leadership position I'm in, and I do believe it's time for me to accept that role, I want you to know, and I'm first and foremost talking to those confined for the remainder of their life, that I will always respect your ability and right to make that decision for yourself. Unfortunately, I'm not able to determine your true motives for any of your actions. None of us is completely pure or holy. And as much effort as I put in trying to be a responsible example for my boys, I have failed many times. Sometimes because of circumstances beyond my control, and sometimes because of my own willful decision. Every poor choice I've made that compromised legal statute has involved alcohol to excess. I don't think it's inherently a bad thing. I actually think it's an inherently good thing because it has a lot of good detoxifying properties, and has some benefit for regulation of the nervous system, which is why we appreciate it. But just like we had our discussion about THC, alcohol has its dangers. And many of us sitting in confinement can attest to that. So I apologize for my missteps there. And I want to make it clear that I have no desire to lead you specifically. Texas Movement International is a representation of my family's best practices, with contributions from all four of us, from my perspective. I formed the LLC under my name, as is my right to do as a citizen of the United States of America, because I recognize that the United States of America, even as a child, it was made very clear to me, would never fully recognize me as a human being. And the evidence is all around me now. But as a corporation, I do have some worth. And because America did not respect my father or my brother, I chose not to make our last name a part of the name of this organization. Because I don't want America's preconceived notions of our history and heritage to be a glass ceiling on what this company can accomplish with the right support. Many people in Silicon Valley, especially Indians, will be very excited to get the approval of somebody like Y Combinator or some other venture capital people. If you've seen the Uber story, you see how founders interact with venture capital. But a long time ago, I realized that relying on the goodwill or the subjective favor of a Caucasian American, usually a Jewish American, is a fool's errand. And the reason the country is in the mess that it's in now is because instead of looking to God for our resources, we look to Jewish mammon. And we're about to listen to all the white pastors in America tiptoe around the injustice that's happening in their very own country, because their funding sources come from the mammon of the devil rather than God. And this week, they're going to celebrate the birth of their Savior. gathered around tables in their white flight, segregated, gated communities, like the rich man, while Lazarus begged. The weapons of the enemy, the surveillance of the enemy, does a profile on you in order to find what triggers you the most. So that it can deceive you into responding in a way that can justify your confinement. When you look at the podcast topics of young African Americans, male and female dynamics, corporate America keeps the genuine culture separate from the class of African American minorities that are promoted in the traditional corporate structure. There's an internal conflict in every young person. How can I be authentic to my culture? Provide for myself or the woman I care about, or the woman I wish to care about. And they promote promiscuity so early in women that by the time you do actually scrape enough pennies together, she's had so many experiences that you'll never be able to even be a 50-50 partner, even though that's not what God instructed. But we would compromise with 50-50 if we actually had the partnership. We could cover this up for a long time with money that came from credit card debt, payday loans with impossible interest, all these apologetics experts never talk about usury. I have the strength to bear this burden because my brother took every bullet in the world meant for me. He had no one to look up to, no one to protect him. And as we grew, just like my father, he started to resent my existence because of the freedom that he paid for. I never wanted to get fatigued to the point where I publicly resisted that resentment, because I know where it comes from, and it is valid, both from my brother and my father. If I had kept my head down and been an engineer, perhaps I could have avoided the conflict. But I would have only saved myself. Our family had such a unique connection with the Lord. We were in the 0.1% all our life. How many boys had to go through the same slanted system without a father that had direct connection with the Spirit of God, without a mother that prayed every day, without a community that cared for each other like ours did? Is it right to remain quiet when the same oppressive forces weigh down upon us all? Is it right that I be sexually promiscuous because my eyes are blue? Is it right that I accept an engineering salary and get married and live in quiet suburbs because I'm able to pass and accept the bare minimum scraps of suburban life? What about the people that can't pass? What about the people that never had a chance to pass? What makes me any better than them? I'm no better than anyone. In my mind, running 9.5 would only break even for us. And that too, only at the Bruce Lee level. When I was 12 years old, we went to India as a family. I told you I had to cross international waters to get my first pair of Nikes. It was on that trip. We were in Dubai, and something about the vacation experience allowed my dad to be willing to spend the money. We were in Kerala, that small southern state that I was telling you about. And I was walking in kind of the town square. There were a lot of little shops. Something happened that upset me, and I went and sat in the car. And a couple of shop owners were laughing with customers. They looked at the car and saw me sitting in the back seat outside of their shop, and they laughed. And I was facing forward in the car, and they were to my right. And they laughed, and in their own language, they called me an American. Hearing that, with the limited context I had in that language, I turned my head quickly. Showing them the anger that I was feeling at the time. And the main shop owner, the tallest one, said in his language, "This one understands Malayalam." I bear no ill will towards Raju. All of his frustration is completely justified. He has the right to know a champion from his own people. And any cost that is within our value system is worth it. And any judgment I must pass through for breaking that value system is worth it. But the boys must know that you don't have to break our value system to get to that level. Women are not supposed to be leaders. They're not built for it. They are useless without us. My mother was not exceptional because of her own gift. Her gifts were molded by her father from childhood. I must teach you how to weaponize celibacy. You do not have to accept women's or Jewish, and believe me, they are one. Lifers. I may not be able to release you personally or pardon you completely, but wherever I am placed, your well-being will be high on my priority list. I would greatly appreciate if you used your influence in a direction that served us all. And I say that with immense respect. Those of you with lesser sentences, I am willing to explore options to see how you can be reintroduced with less obstacles to your progress. But because of my experience, I'm going to be a little bit more difficult to please than I was. I do not respect hip-hop. Or the Jewish infection that has had its way with it. I don't care how long you've been a part of the culture. If you can't support its growth without your personal financial extraction, you're not a part of it. That equity that I've established, you cannot take in a 360 deal. I formally reject Jewish influence in hip-hop culture of every kind. If I could enforce something to correct the corruption in the legal system between judges and prosecutors, I would look into that more. But as I said before, I've made friends that are more well-versed in those kinds of things, so I urge you to support them. I don't believe the situation is hopeless. And I have the tools to be useful. But for once in my life, I do want a home that wants me as a part of it. As an actual resident, not just a house guest. My brother and I are worth more than your scraps. And if he's not welcome, I'm not going. That's Texas Movement. I hope you find some peace today. And I hope you make some kind of progress. We're going to speak strength and power into the week ahead. Violence as needed. Specifically towards the destruction of the evil that oppresses all of us. I pray for your discernment so that you recognize when to use it and when not to. I'm going to cautiously trust your judgment. And I hope that in return, you allow me some leeway to use my own. Be blessed.